Tushangilie Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda, Kenya nchi tunayoipenda.
Twajivunia sana tukijiita wa Kenya, nchi yenye baraka, Kenya nchi yenye baraka.
Tumekomboa Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, tumebadili mwendo, tutalinda katiba mpya. Anayependa Kenya ni yule mwenye kupenda haki kwa watu wote, mtu mwenye kutenda haki. Na ukipenda Kenya ujitengane na mambo yenye kuvunja amani. Hatutaki matata Kenya, wenye nchi
Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele daima.
Wenye nchi
Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele daima.
Kenya kipenzi chetu.
Kenya was the epitome of stability. It was the hub of peace in the region. It was a representation of love and unity. And then
blood, fire, gunshots, people running around, people living in internally displaced camps.
Most people who suffered were women and young children. Most of them were raped, others were being just.
it was horrible. To me it was horrible. We lost our humanity, we lost our unity, we lost the love, we lost our place at the table of peace. 2007 happened. To the world, we became Kenya burning.
There was a lot of starvation and hunger, including my family and myself, because I couldn't work. I couldn't move. My work depends on where I move to, so that I can be paid to get food, like basic needs.
The voting was very peaceful. From the morning, guys coming out very early in the morning, queuing to cast their votes until very late in the night. There was so much patience from the people. But then the unfortunate incidences that followed is what really not many people would like to talk about.
Being a Kikuyu, I got and you are branded that you are the people who got to benefit out of the whole process. Personally, I'm not linked to even the president, and many people are not linked to the president. But just because you come from that tribe, you are victimized by the mere fact that you are from that origin.
My dad said no. I feel I need to go home and see if everything is okay, because every day you'll see a house burning you'll see people killing each other, you know, from afar, from a distance. And my dad was worried that maybe our house is no longer there, and he had invested in building the house. And so I was afraid that my father would go and never come back again. I said, no, I'll go with you, Dad. And as we were going, we were passing through dead bodies, houses which were burnt. I mean, that scene wasn't a good one. And I looked at myself and saw, as I'm carrying hatred, I multiply myself by the number of Kenyans. We are 40 million Kenyans. And I see, this is not the nation I want. I don't want a tribalistic kingdom. I want a Kenya whereby we'll sit together as brother and sister, not look at each other as tribes, but where we could work together and have a peaceful nation.
Morning of March 4th, 2013, Kenyans, confident of the strides they had made towards rebuilding their country, queued for long hours, determined to vote. They were determined to shape the progress of their country. They were determined to shape the policies of their country. They were determined to let the memories of 2007 fade away. They were determined to elect into power a government that would represent their voices. They were determined to exercise their political rights. Kenyans were united in one thing, their hope, their determination for peace. And voting, largely for them, was a vote for peace.
The reforms that we are seeing right now happening in the country, people trying to, the nation trying to rebuild the justice system, trying to address historical injustices that were committed, land issues, the devolution system that we are now getting into is as a result of some of the realizations that Kenyans got out of that violence that we experienced.
I think the citizens of this country, they've learned something from the past election, and I feel as a foreigner, I'm not feeling here as a foreigner, because for me, I feel the country is, even if it's not secure at 100%, a lot of things are going on.
I'm very proud of the Kenyan people who were able to recollect themselves very, very fast to really think on ways of stopping this process. If it was in another country, like in my country, it would probably have taken a different dimension.
Tell the youth, the outcome of election is actually for our own good. And by destroying what is already there as infrastructure, we are destroying our own future. So whoever wins, and if that person is working for the country and for the future of the country, why not give him a chance? And I think that's what we did, and we're very happy that we're successful, and we team up with a number of organizations.
The maturity they carried out throughout the election, and after the election, I felt, yes, now this is also part of fulfillment. The prayers are being answered. I mean, I also felt contented and proud to be a Kenyan.
More awakening. Like I say, there's more people who are able to see things from a bird's eye view perspective, the bigger picture, and to realize that it doesn't matter who is in power or who is the president. I mean, life continues.
I still felt that there was, we have swept so much under the rug until there was no more rug. So I was going, but I was like, I don't know if this is really going to work out. So I was 50-50. And then I liked that it was peaceful.
There was definitely a lot of tension leading up to the elections, and I had a lot of people telling me to leave the country or to go back home or to at least get out of Kibera. You know, I was in Kibera the whole time, but that wasn't really an option for me, just because I didn't
again, I love it here, and I have almost what I consider family here now, so it wasn't really an option for me to flee when they didn't have that option. But there was a lot of tension. Even I felt a lot of tension. Everyone was really worried. But at the same time, there was also a lot of optimism.
There was, I think, a lot of efforts, both from civil society and government, to make sure that they learned from the mistakes of 2007 and 2008, and that people were really aware of what was happening. And there was a lot of eyes and ears on the ground, and I think a lot of people were confident that the violence wasn't going to happen again in 2013.
I was here during the electoral time. I arrived in Kenya in late February 2013, so in the middle of the campaign, and you could really feel the tension in the air. There were many fears, there were many hopes as well. There was also a lot of attention on what was going to happen in Kenya. Almost on the front pages, on every newspaper, on TV, you could hear several political pundits just speaking about the risk of a new wave of violence, such as in 2007, 2008. And so I think that this really contributes to create awareness of the risk Kenya was facing, and people were ready. People were aware of the risk, and people were really motivated to avoid. Most people were really motivated to avoid that violence again.
The youth now understand the democratic areas, unlike how they were used the last time to perpetuate violence. Now they didn't give in to that violence this time, and I think the youth had to use more of their power in the vote than to be carrying guns on the street. So
the youth comprise 60% of the Kenyan population. They have been instrumental in directing Kenya's course on the path of democracy. The shift from a single-party state to a multi-party state was, for the larger part, steered by the youth, who later joined the government in different positions. The high level of unemployment has been the key threat to youth stability and incorruptibility. This situation has been exploited by many a politician to cause destruction and violence. This was the case in the year 2007.
So you see how we disadvantage ourselves?
That notwithstanding, the youth in Kenya have taken a keen interest in the governance of their country. In particular, the youth took very deliberate actions in the 2013 general elections to promote peace and stability.
Many young people realized that they had a role to play in ensuring that peace prevailed in the country before, during and after the last elections. So we had lots of campaigns, we had lots of peace activities happening all over the country. I coordinate the messages of peace activities in Kenya through the scouting movement. And through that initiative, I was able to reach out to the young people. There are over 400,000 young people that the scouting movement, that are members of the scouting movement in Kenya. And through that initiative, as the coordinator of the initiative, then my work was to work with young people at the grassroots level, inspire them, and make them realize that, yes, as young people, we have a role to play. Because unless we as young people take it upon ourselves to be ambassadors of peace, then we are not creating a good environment for us.
So let's not ensure that it's just meetings for youth leaders. Youth leaders lead other people. So other people should be able to...
The leaders, they make decisions, but the ones who are implementing them are young people. Look at what happened in 2007, 2008. We didn't see the leaders on the streets. It is the young people. And what the young people were doing, they were destroying their own future. Why not empower the young people to say that you can do, if you want to do better, move to the politics. Take your role, take your rightful place. If we don't invest in our young people and expect that we are going to have a better future, I think that's a big mistake that we are making. And that's why I really support this kind of networking, because investing in young people is investing in the future of the country and the development of the country.
The youth just have to stop complaining. I am aware, believe me, I am aware of the problems that are going on in the country. I am aware of the challenges that are going on in the country. But the thing is, you need to stop complaining, stop being apathetic, and start, in fact, questioning your MP. Start questioning the kind of leaders that you put into leadership. So I think we have the power. We, the youth, have the power, as cliche as it sounds, to make the change that we want to see happen.
There's so much independence. Everybody has changed from what can the government do for me to what can I do for myself and what can I do for my government to be able to raise the standard of living for everybody, not just me, but spread it across. Social entrepreneurship has also been taken up by a lot of youth, which causes a lot of impact to their communities. This is changing as well. There's so many entrepreneurs who are doing great things. You look at Kenya, for example, we've now become known as a technological hub in Africa. All these projects and all these innovations are youth-led. Majority of them are done by the youth. We are one of the few countries, not just in Africa, but in the world, where youth, young people are being allowed to run political parties. Take Johnson Sakaja. He is the chairman of the TNA, which was the party under which the current president ran. He was chair. That's youth taking up leadership and doing it well.
Within my organization, we have also a team, a national movement with the Kenyan Catholic student. Then during election, what we did as an organization, we have tried to train young people, because our target group is the university student. So we have tried to train those students and give them some skills about civic education. And some of our members have been observed during election. So that is something I think there was this will from the young people to be involved on the election process.
I was involved in a project in an international movement of Catholic students, and we moved within the campuses trying to educate the youth, especially before elections, on why they should really take the route of tolerance and compromising. We understand not everybody is going to agree with their decision, but what happens if even the results that are going to come out are not going to be in agreement? At least by now, through the new constitution that we have got new structures, and these new structures, they can really be used by the youth to be able to take their grievances to that level. So we tried to sensitize and conscientize the youth in informing them. You don't know there exist structures which you can be able to put your grievances, and that's why you decide to go to the streets. But if you realize that we have in place enough structures for you to be able to go and air out, which at least when I can say that they have let us down, then we can be progressive. The rule of law, it has to be upheld. But people have also got to believe in that rule of law and really understand the mechanisms.
Hasa wamama ndio walitaka amani kuliko mtu mwingine yeyote. Hao walipoteza watoto, walipoteza mali yao na vitu zao nyingi, wamama. Na unajua wamama ndio wanachangia sana kuleta amani. Pia ndio wako na bidii. Unaona mpaka saa hizi mimi niko hapa kama mama. Mzee wangu hayuko hapa. Hata akiwa hapa hawezi fanya kazi kama hii. Ni mimi. Sasa inabidi tudumishe hiyo amani pia kwa wenzetu.
We are so happy to say yes, we want gender equality, equal right between the men and the women. And when it comes
compared to my country, which is a bit the economic level is not the same like here, and that is for me something very positive. Even if women can be empowered in a country, So meaning we are really going for this development we are seeking in the country. And I think the case of Kenya, they are very, very entrepreneurial women.
Women in Kenya have a crucial role in daily life politics, in daily life negotiation, in established channel of communication among different factions, different groups.
And in the past elections, I think women spoke and they were heard.
The women we spoke to shared their heartbreaking stories of loss. They also expressed their resolute determination to restore and maintain peace in Kenya. During the run-up to the 2013 general elections, Kenyan women were on the forefront calling for tolerance and cohesion. Women were involved in post-election peace-building initiatives. They also initiated reconciliatory dialogue, organized community peace projects, and also participated in the decision-making through peaceful campaigns and overwhelmingly turning up to vote.
The recent amendments to the Constitution, which encouraged greater participation of women in politics, such as the introduction of women representatives. A lot of women-led organizations who were conducting campaigns on peace building and importance of voting for women. This was also, and for a period, early 2013, almost every morning on TV, there would be debates and they would invite women to come and speak on TV and speak to the people on the importance of peace during the elections, the importance of political participation as an individual through voting or either going for an elective post.
I follow what Madeleine Albright said. You don't have to say you're a woman for people to treat you as a woman. I paraphrase it. But it's through our actions. It's through what we do and how we support the sisterhood. You will find that a female MP wants to run or a female president candidate wants to run. And the people bashing her the most are women. Seriously.
So they have become aware of the fact that Kenya needs them participation.
And the women now have organized themselves, try to realize their place in contributing. So there are a lot of platforms that are created by women, but also for the women where they can share their views.
I was socialized in such a way that women and men have equal rights. So I take that wealth with me. And I've also developed a thick skin, and I'm not naive to the male privilege that is in our society. But what I do is I stand on a platform and I do what I do well. I don't make excuses and say, oh, I'm a woman, pardon me. No, I do what I do well. And judge me from the fruits of my work.
Tulikuwa tunaongea na wenzetu, hata watoto wetu tuliwaambia wadumishe amani. Tusionekane picha mbaya kwa nchi zingine.
I think given the chance, the women actually can add a better value in terms of peaceful culture in our societies.
Mama, mama Kenya, mama, usinitenge, unijenge mama, nisikie. Oh mama, mama Kenya, mama, umetoka mbali we, usichoke mama. Ni wakati wako we, usichoke mama.
Art is a powerful form of communication. It was heavily used to communicate peace by Kenyan youth. Music artists, photojournalists, acrobats, graffiti artists, and others explored the medium of art to spread the message of peace. Kibera Walls of Peace, Picha Mtaani, peace concerts, Africa Yoga projects, among others, were some of the powerful ways through which the message of peace was put across.
Na moyo wako wasubira mama hata ukunitupa. Hata majirani wanakufuata mama eti kwa mabaya.
Art is a very powerful medium. It appeals to both the literate and the illiterate. It cuts across gender, age, and even tribe. Because when you look at art, you don't start seeing tribe, just see something that can actually communicate and relate to. And so It's a very powerful tool. Art is critical and it plays a very important role, irrespective of whether it's peace or if it's democratic movement, whatever it is, art is a very powerful medium.
Kenyans, why did you do this to yourselves? That's why we have camps. Let's all come together and build the nation, because unity is strength. Thank you.
So Picha Mtaani is basically a street exhibition where we took images that I had taken during the violence. I was a photographer during the violence. And we took these images to towns that have been hit by the violence. So we went to Mombasa, Kisumu, Eldoret, Kericho, and many other towns. And we'd go there and set up this big exhibition of gory images of the violence. People who had been killed or burnt or shot. Very graphic pictures. And so the images are actually to start people to talk. So when you are minding your own business in your usual town, you see these big blown up images of violence, and then you stop. Then we engage you. We talk about, see the violence, or you're a victim, or you're a perpetrator, what role did you play, what do you think happened. Then we get you to talk about it. And then your dialogue sessions. So you see the pictures are like a magnet to get people to come. So when they come and see the pictures, they really want to talk, they want to react. And so they react and we engage them and talk about causes of violence, why it happened and when should it happen again. And even give them a chance to talk about tribalism, talk about negative ethnicity, talk about the role of leaders in violence, and even the role of young people in violence. It was a chance for people to see, reflect, and then reconcile. I think looking at the election that happened a few months ago, the project was very successful. There was minimal violence because of the work that we did and many other people. And so the youth were able to see the effects of violence and see that the victims were the young people. And the victims were people they knew, their neighbors, and the community suffered. So I think the impact was good. I think 2007, Kenyans went through hell. We had our own mini genocide. It was on a very small scale, but it was very bad because in a span of 1 month, 500,000 people were displaced. I documented that as a photographer. I was able to go in and out into those communities and now I could go back and relive those moments. The adrenaline was no longer there. So I had to face my demons and have nightmares and think about bad things. I even quit my job. I couldn't stand politicians. And that hasn't changed. I don't like politicians.
I mobilized myself with other youths who were artists, drummers, dancers, acrobats, and we started visiting the internally displaced people just as a way to show peace is back. Like, we need peace. Us as artists, me as an artist, I need peace to move around. They, where they are, the internally displaced people, they need peace even where they are, no matter how worse it was at that time. At least they saw that there was someone somewhere have the same need, like we both needed peace. We come from different areas, but we all needed the same thing, peace. So I was doing workshop with the drummers and dancers. We were doing like peace and reconciliation workshop. We used yoga, drumming, and acrobatics. So that was a process of just a healing process. Like at that moment, for them to let go whatever they've been holding on for many months, to let go of that and be in that moment where they experience peace in their life. Some of them, even though they lived in the same camps, they didn't trust each other. They weren't open to each other. So they still lived with fear within them. Yoga as a tool, I used it in bringing to them like opening conversation, practicing together. We all go through different postures in yoga, moving our bodies into different angles. We have the same experience in our bodies. So we had to bring it out like we are having a situation here. We have to put it on the table. Let's discuss it openly as the experience which we're having during the practice. Most of them opened up. They shared where they're coming from, how they feel about the moment, and just by opening themselves up, they became a community. It wasn't very easy for them to be manipulated by any politician again to get into the act of being violent. So more than 500 youths do yoga. they teach more than 3,000 communities themselves. Like a number, by 2013, there was a number of 4,000 to 5,000 youths in the slums who are already doing yoga. With that rate of number of people who practice yoga and looking forward to peace, because the message that I use in the practice is more about finding peace within themselves, finding peace even within me. They spread that out. Spreading that out, it really minimized the number of violence. Even that something that was being expected to happen after this election didn't happen. We expected that there was going to be violence, and like with that number, like youths are like, we are not doing that anymore. We are out for peace. So if it's you guys in the government doing this, we are not joining you to do that. You do it by yourself. So yoga has really helped, and it has slashed a very huge number of youths who could have been involved in violence in this year.
First of all, Kibera was now on the map. It could be seen from anywhere, in any part of the world. We went further and put all the election points of interest, like the election voting centers, in the map. We went further and mapped the security points. We were able to network with other institutions that were on standby, either for emergency, for security response, for humanitarian response, or for medical response, anything. They were on standby to do that, and we acted as a connector to them and the community. Everyone is trying to communicate. Our role became very, very important when we were now able to sift through the information that was coming in and pick what was valid and what was true. Because if somebody could send a text and say, we're being attacked, but before we propagated this message, we confirmed if that was actually true. Were they actually being attacked or not? So in that way, we monitored the reporting process and only gave out very important and very valid facts about what was going on. And by that, we were able to direct the police or other law enforcement agencies to the right places, reduce the levels of anxiety among the people, reduce the circulation of propaganda and false information.
There was a lot on Twitter about the coverage of foreign journalists, and even there were a lot of foreign journalists in Kibera, and the idea that I saw being put forward by a lot of Kenyans was that foreign journalists were basically just clamoring for some sort of violence, like that's what they wanted to see, which is sad and terrible. But it's not exciting to report everyone is peaceful. They wanted to report on violence. That's what it seemed like, and that was the perception. And so I really think that foreign journalists should take their cue from Kenyan journalists and should be listening. Kenyan journalists should really be the ones reporting on these kind of things because they're here and they know. And so foreign journalists should collaborate with Kenyan journalists when they're writing about Kenyan issues in the same way that we would want a Kenyan journalist in the US. We wouldn't want them just writing their own story from what they saw. We want them getting American sources, and so there should be a lot more collaboration when reporting about things here, I think.
Kenya took on an initiative against CNN, a Twitter campaign that was called Someone Tell CNN, which aimed to just stop these bad stories from coming out and actually giving the true story on the ground. That any report that would come out, they take the initiative to negate this report and prove the true story. So I think that's the direction we should go, and the rest of Africa should take, to make an attempt to tell their own story.
We understand the mainstream media, they have various interests about Africa. That's why they have their selective approach to the stories they want to tell. When they come, they should tell they should tell both sides of the story. They should not just be biased. And when they come to Kenya, for example, if they need, let them go to Kibera, cover in Kibera, and also come and cover in Kilimani, also cover in the city center.
Outside the media, maybe they will show always the negative part of Africa. But why not the media in Africa, we don't show the positive side also sometimes? Sometimes I'm just hopeless when I see the news. There's only bad news at the television. Then there's nothing positive. Then when you go in deeper in this Africa, you will find people are doing great.
Kenya, the model used in this documentary, is one of the African states where young people are in constant push for the progress of their country. Africa has been perceived as a continent marred in calamity and indifference. However, Africans, and particularly the younger African generation, are changing this narrative, proving to the world that Africa is a place of pride, productivity, innovation, and pioneering.
For a very long time, African young people have been looked at as passive, as people who are not ready to take up responsibility, as violent young people. But the question we need to ask ourselves, why is it that whatever is happening in Africa is happening?
I had a friend who came in from Italy in Nigeria, and we were walking the streets of Nigeria, and we were going together, and she was very impressed about the fact that nothing happened to her.
One of my former partners, she came from the United States and came to Congo, and when she was being brought up, she was told to believe that in Africa we only have trees, animals, there are no people, there are no houses. And when she came, she was in a total confusion, total culture shock.
What's written about Africa is, poverty and, how bad things are. And there's not a lot of positive stories that are written about Africa. And so when I came, I just saw how positive of an environment it is, the creativity, the talent, those are things that are not really written about and not talked about outside of Africa.
You should not just expect me to understand you, Try to understand me too, and I think that's very important. If we're talking about youth changing African youth changing their perception, what are we talking about? Western youth, or European youth, or American youth, changing their perception about Africa?
Well, I would say to my peers in the global north that I think it's Kenyans and Africans are getting a lot more of a voice, like I said, because of social media and because just the internet. And I think people should really take advantage of that and learn directly from Kenyans themselves about what Kenya is like. Ask them. People are very engaging on Twitter. People are engaging on Facebook. Read their blogs. Their Kenyan newspapers are all online. So read directly from Kenyan sources about Kenya. That's where people should be getting their information. From Kenya rather than from international sources can be good, but it's good to get both.
And I think it's the responsibility of educators, but also of young women and men in the global north to do their own research and find out for themselves. There's a lot of content online now written by young African leaders that are maybe not the traditional leadership that we think about when we think about African countries. So there's a lot of information that people in the global north can access themselves and learn, hear stories directly from people's mouths. So that's the power that technology has today.
And I'm a big supporter of exchange programs. Make your way over here, If we could, at some point, we'd love to go there just to see how things work. And then come back and build our societies. This is not the era where young people want to go to the West to live there. We're tired of that. We want to come back here and build our own communities.
I'm not saying there is no negative things. They are, but we should not focus only on that. We should show also our positive part to the world.
Some of the things that people are dealt in life, the way that the resiliency and the way that they're able to deal with them, that people back home they take so much for granted, and here it's just really inspiring to me.
As a lot of brilliant people who look forward and is probably more able to anticipate the future than others the same age in the West.
Vis-a-vis the globalization that is going on, we want to make sense, we want to have our voice heard, but no one seems to understand where we're coming from because they're not here to face the context. This is a young democracy. I keep telling people it's young.
With all the perceptions they have about Africa, I think as African young people, we are telling them that we as Africans have all it takes to lead Africa. We have all it takes to develop Africa. So what we need is a conducive environment, good governance, and more opportunities for young people to discover themselves.
Give young people a voice to make them do what they ought to do, to make Africa a better place than the way it was handed over to us.
We have a long way to go. I know we have a long way to go, but as long as we get the support, and also we have the leaders that really have the African country at heart, because they have to have the goodwill and also the vision of taking it ahead.
Something is going on here. Things are changing. The times are changing. As you can see, so much innovation is happening. Without so much support, it's happening anyway. You can be part of it. You can be part of that process. You can help other young people make a difference in their lives.
Can we, as Africans, invest in Africa? Can we help young people to transform this land as a land of opportunity for every African and for everyone in the world?
We really think we need to bring our energies together, not alone, and that's why now we believe in partnerships. We need to work with others together, who should come in not with a biased mind, but to really work with us so that we can move together, as we also hope also to contribute, developing other parts of the world.
Create a platform to imagine together the future. Exactly because it's no longer the future of the North, of the South, but it's the future of the world altogether.
African youth are the leading innovators, social changers and community builders. As African youth, we need to keep shifting the negative narrative. We must look out for the positive stories because these positive stories are the norm, not the exception. Africa has to inspire Africa and the rest of the world.
I believe peace should come from within. And when I mean within, it's a two-level of peace. It's within the individual and within the society. Peace should not be imposed from outside. So it is very important that if we are working for peace, we need to work on helping people to get the right attitude, to get the right behavior, so that we can achieve that peace. And that behavior, what is society? Society is actually a conglomeration of individuals. So if I'm peaceful, you are peaceful, then society is going to be peaceful.